Got it. I will stay in the meeting, although it's being recorded. All right, I guess it's 7:01, man. I'm just start going, dude. We'll get the party rolling.
Well, give it a sec. So I'm gonna share it out.
Okay. Well, tell me when you shared it out and stuff.
Yeah, you can kind of start talking to people. Just don't get started officially.
We won't. So, as you may have heard, if you are jumping on, I'm talking to you now, but not officially until we get some folks going here. So, be patient with us, y'all. We about to get ready to get cranking in just a minute. Just giving a few people a few minutes to jump in with us. All right, already starting to see some folks coming on. One of them being that homie Simeon. What it is, man? Come on in here. Welcome everybody starting to get in. We're gonna start just a moment here momentarily. I was looking at that Facebook feed and it said he had the option to bring people on camera. Boy, start hitting that, man. Bring people in.
You gonna bring people in? That's what that guy, who is that doctor that be talking to women? He was bringing them women on camera on Instagram.
Oh, is that right? I see that.
Yeah, that dude crazy. All right, give me a
what
few
up, Crystal?
minutes.
Come on in. Thank you for coming on in. We sharing it out. We getting all our technical things sorted out here, so we can get this fire conversation going for the evening. Welcome everybody in. You feel good about life now, Dig? Ready? Uh-oh, we waited on a good one. Now we got Franklin coming in. See, that was good. Dude. You was right. Now we get to add to the front line. Right on time, Franklin Moss Jr. Good job, man.
All right. Hello. How you doing?
Good evening.
Doing good, man. Doing good. All right, Dig. We ready to do it now?
Yeah, we're good to go.
We good to go. That is. Not waiting on that. What up? Y'all know what it is. Welcome back to the front line. Thank you for anybody who is choosing to spend any part of your evening with us. We are always super grateful for that. My name is Q Phillips. I'm one of the founding members of Community Frontline, and we welcome you to another one of our forums that we know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, will not disappoint. As we always do, we try to take opportunities like this to bring things to the community that we feel like the community it's really relevant to the community. It's going to be helpful to you in some ways. And so tonight, we're going to do exactly that. We're going to talk about mental health. And y'all know how we do. It's going to be a beautiful, informal conversation. We're going to be on here chopping it up. We want anybody who's tuning in on Facebook, you can get in that comment section. You can ask questions. You can bring your comments. We'll be monitoring those throughout the evening as well, so you can be a part of this conversation. But again, we're just grateful that you choose to be with Community Frontline for any point in time. With that being the case, let me introduce to you the people that we got with us this evening. First of all, we got my little brother, Franklin and Nancy Custom Clothing, one of the founding members of Community Frontline, the best suit clothier in the entire game, Franklin Moss Jr. FMJ, say what up to your people, man.
Hello, everybody. I'm Franklin Moss. I'm Franklin Moss Jr., and I am a co-founder of Community Frontline and owner of and founder of Franklin and Anthony Custom Clothier Bespoke Stuff. And yes, I'm here. Hello, how y'all doing?
Glad you know the name of the company you all. Seemed like you forgot it there for a second.
Sometimes.
All right. We also got my brother, co-founder of Community Frontline as well, president of this fine establishment, the one making sure we got all our technical things worked out on Facebook. Did contracting the best construction man that the earth has ever built. Dante Williams, what it is. Say what's up to your people, my brother.
What up, people? What up, Frontline? Hey, man, just glad to be back. Glad to be back in the building, back on the camera with you and the rest of the fam, bro. So let's get it.
Let's get it. And so tonight, of course, like I said, with us talking about mental health, you know, it could just be me, Dante, and Frank on here chopping it up, talking from our point of view, which we definitely will be doing tonight. But we absolutely thought it'd be pertinent that we actually get someone who actually knows what they're talking about, since we do not, right? So we went and got, and you see it on the screen, MD behind the name. That means this brother is a medical doctor. He knows what he's doing. We got from Funky Town, Dr. Brian J. Dixon. What up, man? Say what's up to you people.
Hey, y'all. Thank you for having me on, gentlemen. I'm looking for a good conversation. Looking forward to a good conversation. We got a lot of fun stuff to cover, so looking forward to it.
Indeed, indeed. So yeah, y'all. So everybody, like I said, just come on in. Feel free to stream and view, share it out to your people, jump in the comment section. Any questions you may have for us, but definitely any questions that you have for Dr. Dixon, please feel free to throw those out. We'll try to get as many of those answers during our time together tonight. And we just want to have fun and have conversation about something that really is pertinent to our people, to our community. And we want everyone to be healthy in every way, including mental health. So the first thing I want to do before we jump into anything, we definitely be able to take the conversation in other areas. With it being a conversation about mental health, I just want to do a simple check-in with each one of you fellas and ask the question, but really ask the question, because we don't always, because we ask it all the time, but we don't always actually expect the answer. I actually want to ask the question, how are you doing? Legitimately. So, Frank, how are you doing, brother?
Wendy Williams, I am doing pretty good.
I didn't say how you doing. I said, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Overall, you know, life has its ups and downs. Dante know what I'm talking about. Today I am right in the middle, but I'm good, and I'm taking care of myself, and I'm trying to get myself in order and stay in a good mental space. So, and when things go down, I have to continue to try to stay in a good space. And so, yeah, I'm good for the most part. Yeah.
Indeed, man. And so, Brian, before you know, I know many times tonight we're going to ask you to put that physician hat on, Brian, Dr. Brian Dixon. But as Brian Dixon, the man, how are you doing?
Not great. I'm furious, honestly. So I'm mad at everything and everybody. I'm disappointed in my fellow man. I love Black folks though. Like, we are coming up. Like, the organizing that is happening is what keeps me going every single day, because for whatever reason, our white allies or white compatriots are not doing what they need to do. So yeah, so I'm pretty upset, but I try to channel all of that in a constructive way rather than destructive way. So I'll share a little bit of those tips as we go along.
No, that's fantastic, man. And one, you already shown that you get what we do here because you were transparent, and I appreciate that transparency, man. And that's exactly what this has to be. Is that, like I said, when we ask this question, we want the real answer. So many times we go, "Oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm good." Like, no, sometimes we actually just pissed off. Sometimes we mad. Sometimes things ain't right. And I appreciate you, you know, on paper, we look, oh, he's a doctor, he's handsome, he's this and this. Like, no, sometimes the brother just mad though, regardless. So appreciate that transparency, man. And yes, and we definitely jump in a little bit more there tonight. Dante, how you doing, man?
Yo, yeah, I'm blessed, bro. Like, I feel like I'm in a good space. Just kind of overall. Right. So yeah, I'm blessed, man. Just not up, not down, but I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And I like how you kind of frame that too. I think a lot of times that I'm good, I is a cover up, you know what I'm saying? Especially for guys. And ladies do it too, but I know with men it's a pride thing. They be like, "Nah, I'm good, I got it." So now I appreciate you asking that question, bro, and it's a really good way to kind of enter into this conversation tonight. I feel like so good stuff. Yeah, but I'm good, man, and I'm with Brian too, so I got a little bit of that anger in me too behind just some of the stuff going on, but yeah, man, overall just blessed, bro. Like I'm good. Like I say, glad to be back, man. I missed this space.
Indeed, man. We're glad to have you back. And so, as I'm moderating, asking questions, whatever the case, I'm definitely a part of just us chopping it up. So, the way that I'm doing right now, much like Dante, I do feel like I'm in a good space, but it's transitioning now back into a good space, thankfully, because I wasn't for a little bit there. Had my own family health scare in the house with COVID and everything, and we were trying to navigate through what all those things look like. There was a breakthrough virus, fully vaccinated, all the kind, still had the scare in our house. So, so that was a little scary moment. But again, Dante said an apropos word, they're blessed because I firmly believe that, you know, because we were vaccinated, that helped, because we had resources to be able to nip things in the bud quickly. We were able to isolate and still be able to be okay. So many things came with that to where I was able to count blessings even during that time. So I'm just really thankful. I'm thankful for the love and support of family and loved ones checking in. And, so even though those times can be scary, I got such a support system surrounding me that I can be weak. I can need help. I can, go through, and I know I still got folks around me that's going to be strong. So I am blessed that I am definitely transitioning back into a really good place. So yeah, man. So as we continue on here, one of the first questions I want to ask, and Dante and Frank, you definitely can answer it, but this is for sure where you get to put that doctor hat of yours on, Brian, is I just want to simply ask the question, what is mental health? Because we're having a conversation tonight about mental health. It's a part of our daily lexicon. People kind of know, we allude to it along the way. But really, what is mental health? So, Brian, you can answer, please, in the real sense, and then Frank and Dante just chime in on what you even think mental health really is.
Yeah, so I'll give you kind of the psychiatrist answer. So it is when you are functioning at an efficient level in three different areas: biologically, psychologically, and socially. So biologically meaning, or if you're sleeping well and you're eating right, you're exercising, and your physical body is doing well. Psychologically, that you are dealing with your stress really well and managing your stress, and doing meaningful work that brings you like energy and purpose. And then socially, you're connecting with other human beings. And so if you're operating really well in those three areas, then your mental health generally is higher. So that's kind of how the quick version of it.
Indeed. So, Dante and Frank, chime in there, man. Like I say, he giving us the technical definition for us to be able to go by. But when y'all think about mental health, what is mental health?
Okay, well, me personally, and this is just from an as educated position. I think of just my mental health is where am I at mentally? Like, where am I functioning as an individual? Like, what kind of spaces am I sitting in, and where am I? What am I feeding? Can y'all hear that chiming repeatedly?
Oh, we hear you.
Okay, good. Because my computer's going crazy. Just where am I? Just on a day-to-day basis, where am I at, and checking in it mentally. So that's what I think about when I think of mental health. Not necessarily a negative or positive, but just a status of my mental. That's it.
Indeed. Dante, anything on that?
Yeah, no, I like what both Brian and Frank said, man. I don't have a whole lot to add to that, but just where am I? Like, how do I feel like inside my thoughts? Like, where are my thoughts at, right? Like, am I being, negative in my thoughts, right? But am I being positive in my, so just kind of how am I operating inside of my head, mentally? And that helps as far as like help me kind of define what mental health is for me. Just kind of what does that look like?
Straight up. So, and so we can, throughout the course of our conversation tonight, we definitely will be able to chop up mental health in a variety of areas, but I guess the first area that I know I would like for us to start in, and then Dante and Frank will be able to kind of guide us some places as well. Is the first area is the big elephant in the room of the pandemic, right? And so, Brian, like I said, everything's been going on to where you had to quarantine, you had to isolate, you got a virus out there. Am I safe? Am I not safe? You have a vaccine out there. Should I take it? Should I not take it? How are my kids? How is my job? How, my living situation? Just so many things have been just happening to humanity lately that people just haven't been knowing how to navigate so many things. And I can only imagine the mental health toll that may have to take on, that may have, that takes on so many people. So with that, just Brian, just inviting you to speak a little bit to, whether it be just you in your manhood or you, in your actual job, what are you seeing this pandemic do when it comes and relates to mental health for people?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. I kind of it feels like it falls into two different camps. So there's the actual biology of the virus and what it's doing to us, because I mean it's killing us at a disproportionate rate for lots of different reasons. But the virus itself, since it's new to everybody, the way that it really hurts people is it makes your body overreact. And so if you're already in a stressed out state for any reason, it's just going to make that stress even worse. And so you'll start throwing blood clots and your pneumonia is worse and blah, 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 blah. And so that's what makes it so bad. And if you think about it, Black folks went into the pandemic stressed out because we've been stressed out for the last, 400 years or whatever it's been since we ended slavery and then dealt with all the other ridiculousness that goes on. So we were already behind. And then what I'm starting to see now, just me personally, is the inequity. So the unfairness of what's going on now just blows my mind. And that goes from the pandemic to the voting thing to ERCOT to, I mean, just the way that this country hates Black people. I'm like, damn. And so for me personally, because I went to predominantly white schools and I've been in predominantly white spaces like my entire life. And to see the silence from the people that I loved and trusted, it's a lot. And so the good part of this the silver lining for me is, I can do most of my job from home and do telemedicine stuff. So that's been helpful. But yeah, I'm hurt by the silence. It's just been deafening silence from folks who don't look like us, because we don't have any money. We can't just pull shit out of the air, right? Other people can because they have enough money to fly into space, right? So we're at this weird, yeah. So we're in a very weird space. And the thing that I keep coming back to is Black folks are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. They are making $1 out of 3 cents, not even 15, because we only have 15 no more. So this is a horrible situation, but we're making the best of it. So yeah.
Yeah, man, for sure. So, Frank and Dante, our roles, we out there in the community, right? We're not the medical professional, but we with people every day and trying to do our little part in the world to serve and help folks. Just some of y'all's take on what you're seeing mentally as far as, from a mental health standpoint, whether it be the mental health aspects of what you are going through as us trying to be these servants, trying to be these community advocates the best way that we can, or even just the toll you seeing is taking on those that we are attempting to serve, those in our community, man. So Dig, start with you, man, and then Frankie, you can chime in on there.
Yeah, so I think just in terms of those that are impacted, man, so kind of like what Brian said, like people are already kind of just in a state of trying to figure things out, right? Trying to survive. Definitely the people, most people that we are assisting, helping with, what I'm saying, within our community. But now, like it's just so much more on top of that, right? When you throw in kids being at home, when you throw in, like you talked the vaccine, when you throw in, when you throw in just all these other things, like, do I work? Am I getting laid off? Am I able to pay my rent? Like, because I had a job, but now I might not have that job because, so it's just a lot more. And then the unknown of, not just the unknown of kind of the, COVID, or the vaccine, but the unknown of what is the government doing, what is my city doing, what is my county doing, what is my there's so many extra layers of just the unknown, right? And you don't know what's happening, what decisions are being made. So yeah, so it's a lot of that, right? But then I think so you talked about like for those of us who are like helping in whatever way we can help, like it's been hard, bro. I mean, you know this, you know what I'm saying? Like it's been tough, right? To be able to still be on the front line, still be able to help as much as we can, but also at the same time, you know, run a business, have 4 kids, have a wife, go through COVID, hit 4 people within our household within 2 months. Then we had the freeze. You know, it just a lot. You know what I'm saying? And so just man, you know, our kids are going through the mental aspect of it, you know, from not being in school, to not being able to socially be around their friends. So just seeing all of that and going through all of that, like from a personal, my family, my household, to like seeing it out in the community, man, is real. And I think it's not addressed or talked about enough, like the realness of mental health, that this last kind of year, like really it's been over a year, 18 months now, I guess, is what we're kind of at.
Yeah.
So
it is like the end won't come in sight either, man. Every time we think it's gonna be over.
Right, you know, and then now just is coming back, right? Supposedly is you know, it's kind of creeping back up. So no, man, it's been hard, you know, and I think it's not talked enough, or talked about enough. So yeah.
Quite frank.
So let me get the question kind of reiterated, because I want to make sure that I hit it properly, because it was a lot.
No, straight up, man. And I guess the main question is just that, like I said, we talk about mental health, but in this particular aspect we talking about right now is the toll the pandemic is taking on mental health. So kind of talking about the two aspects. Franklin amongst the man and the toll is taking, but you also part of community front, helping your community and the toll you see it on the community.
So the thing is, mental health, like Dante was saying, being so important with everything that's going on right now, just being heavy. Okay, so I have to start it from where I see it as a man. So as a man, as a Black man, I've dealt with this pandemic in regards to when I caught it. So I caught COVID in Milan, 2020. Coming back, having to deal with it, not even knowing that I actually had it until I heard of my symptoms, and then being one of the people that had the long symptoms of it. So having heart palpitations.
The running joke there, Brian, is that Frank brought COVID to the United States, man.
That's yes.
But it really, so he for real. I'm gonna let you finish the story.
Right.
Frank really was in Italy, right when they start talking about Italy being the epicenter of this disease in Italy that's spreading, and he was in Italy then and came home.
So that's the kicker. When we were in Italy, the conversation was about this disease in China.
Sure.
And will it make it there? That was the conversation. We were like, if it hits Great Britain, then it's going to go crazy and it'll be all over the world.
Right.
And it did just that, right? But not knowing that we're in the conversation with COVID floating around us currently.
Absolutely.
But what happened was, as a Black man, I have always had little bouts with blood pressure, because blood pressure, diabetes, these things sit in my family, right? But with them sitting in my family, like Brian was saying, or Dr. Brian was saying, that it ups everything, it antes everything up. So when it hit me, I was already kind of dealing with blood pressure, but when I got COVID, I had heart palpitations. I had heart palpitations. I had shortness of breath randomly. And then my my blood pressure was constantly going up. And I couldn't figure out, why is my blood pressure always up? And why is it so hard for me to get it down? Dealing with blurry vision and dizzy spells and just randomness. And so I thought it was okay, well, I just need to get back to working out. But what's happening is I'm dealing with these things that's kind of breaking me down to where I can't even work sometimes. And then I'm dealing with the pandemic stopping me because my job is one-on-one with people. So I'm thinking, okay, there's times where I can't get anything moved. Fabric's not coming in, all these things that I'm dealing with pandemic wise. So my stress is high, my blood pressure is high, everything's high. And I'm trying to figure out like what what is going to happen? Where's this break? Where everything's going to come into play? So I'm saying all that to say, yes, we did. As a Black man, I already had stresses from just regular everyday life. And then our people continuously still being killed in the street from being at their house, in their room, just all these different things that we're seeing on the news that are just triggering, and stress just from regular life, stress from the pandemic, stress from knowing I don't have enough money to pay my bills, not knowing if Mia's, whose coffee shop just opened like 3 months ago, how is it going to make it through this pandemic? Shout out to Black Coffee. How are we going to make it through this pandemic? And all these different things hitting me. And it's becoming one of these things to where I'm feeling overwhelmed, which causes more blood pressure issues. So it's one thing over the other. And what's happening, not just with me, but this is happening all over the world. Like people are dealing with this, and we are collectively seeing people deal with these stresses, and it's hitting us just the same. So it's just a cycle of stress going back and forth on social media everywhere, and we're just trying to come together, but we can't come together because COVID's out in these streets. We can't even touch each other or give each other a hug, and that's a thing that we need as an individual sometimes just for our own mental health. It's physical touch. So we're having a lot of these issues going on, but currently we're dealing with a divide that is happening. So a divide that has already happened was a racial divide. Now we're dealing with a vaccine divide. So people are feeling like, oh, well, you're not even a real, like, you're a terrible person because you didn't get the vaccine. And then and then it's other people like, well, we good. We just wear our face mask, or we don't trust the government, or we don't trust what's going on. And it's just this whole thing of a divide that's happening, and it's causing more stress, and it's causing more things. And then we're seeing another divide, the divide of income. So you're seeing the rich get richer, wealthy. The rich get wealthy, and you're seeing the middle class disappear and become poor, but that divide is happening. And that's happening, and so that's causing.
But Brian mentioned it earlier too. They're getting so wealthy that they racing the space, like multiple billionaires with the space, dog. Like,
and folks now, and the government hating that too. I ain't gonna lie to you about that, but it's just becoming becoming crazy, and it's you're trying to figure out. Well, and I'll say this too. We were seeing in the beginning of 2021, people do things that we know that we could never do. Storming capitals, doing just random things that we know that nobody in the world can do. And we're getting upset. We're sitting back though. Then you have the attacks happening on Asian people, and all these different things is happening. And the world is just going crazy. And we're just trying to get back to normal because we think 2021 is going to be a better year. It's even crazier. So, like Quentin said, there's no end. Mental health is just going crazy. And it's the best thing for us is we're just finding a way to find peace in the middle of craziness. And that in itself is a testimony to us appreciating ourselves and finding out more about who we are. So mentally, that has been one of the great things for me. And I'm trying not to be too long-winded too. But I'm just saying, finding peace, people finding a way to love each other from afar, finding a way to be more understanding and be more thoughtful of other people's space, I guess, if that makes sense. We're trying. You're seeing more people trying to do that.
Yeah,
Kind
bro.
of.
Yeah. Nah, hey, you told me being long-winded. You was in your bag right there, man. You was preaching. I loved it. So, so two things that, from what you said, one from what you said, Frank, one from what Dante said, the two things that I know affected me the most during this whole time period was one, the aspect of what you brought up, Frank, the physical touch, the being around people, right? So we talk about introverts and extroverts, and we're talking about extroverts getting the energy for being with people. I'm 100% extrovert. I love being with folks, fellowshipping, kicking it, just having conversation that face to face. Zoom in. I mean, I do it because it's a necessity. I hate Zoom, but it's a necessity for safety purposes right now. But I want to be with y'all, talking, sharing a drink, kicking it, and giving. I'm a hugger, giving hugs to folks. And so when that was stripped away, like I didn't even realize the toll even that was having on my own psyche, just not being able to be with folks and not being able to give somebody a hug and wondering, am I putting them in danger simply by shaking their hand like that or something, and just that was really tough because I could just see it was it was almost like a drain of energy from me. Like I wasn't really fully me because that aspect was stripped. I mean? It really was stripped. And that, and the selfishness of wanting to, man, whatever, I'm gonna just hug, I'm gonna just be around people anyway. And then the fight of the other side of no, be more responsible. This is going to be temporary. Chill out. Take other people to account. That constant struggle, even mentally, of that. You know what I mean? So, and then the other thing that really was in me is what Dante said. He mentioned it very quickly, but it was the parenting aspect. He mentioned the children, like having two boys of my own, and one that I know is like me. My oldest is like me in the sense of his social personality. He likes to be around people, and it was a month stretch, like multiple months stretch, that my kids literally didn't leave the house. Like didn't go to the store, didn't go, there was no school, there was no church, my kids were literally, they were doing school from a computer, they would get on their video game after. I mean, they were literally in this house for months. And I can just see the toll even they're taking, particularly on my oldest, about him not being able just to interact with friends and cousins and family, and even school-wise, a brilliant student, never had an issue academically with my oldest, and I seen even the decline there. Right, thankfully, his decline still put him at ease. But as a parent, you're still seeing this ain't even his best work. He's not even fully attentive in this virtual environment. So even just in the parenting game, navigating what that looks like for our young people was so tough. And then let alone taking that to the whole another level, and a role as a school board trustee and being responsible for decision making for thousands of young people that you want to keep safe and really want them to be able to be educated well and have the things they need in life. So just so much there, man. So yeah, those things hit me from what y'all were even saying with that. Dante, I know there was a couple things you wanted to get to here, man, and I know some you want Brian to speak to. I'll let you get in a little bit on some of that, man.
Yeah, so I want to just hit this this pandemic, man. Like it's so many layers to the pandemic, bro. Like, because we didn't talk about funerals, people who died, and how you couldn't go celebrate the life of your loved one, or weddings. So like we can't have weddings in the pandemic. How people getting married and loving, like it's just so much. It was so much, bro. And so I appreciate you asking that, man. I think kind of to Frank's point too, like just some of the silver lining in the pandemic was like people start talking about stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like people had real conversations about mental health, about equity, about the police and Black community issues, the Asian hate. Like people start having real conversations because people were limited on what they was actually able to see and do. Right? Like you can't go to football games or basketball games, or you got to be at home looking at what's happening for real, right? And so I think as much as the issues got highlighted, like people did have to take attention, whether they liked it or not. People had to hear and deal with whatever side they was on. You know what I mean? So I think that is some silver lining in kind of what has happened. And then kind of with that, man. So we kind of touched on the kids, man, and so a lot of kids are experiencing a lot of new things that no one, definitely not our generation or anyone close, has seen in this lifetime, right? And then you throw in kind of the George Floyd, the Tatiana Jefferson, the, you know, those things that are happening, and with Tay being here locally, you know, like Brian, can you just talk about the impact or a thing that you've been able to kind of see with kids and kids? Maybe you may be, I guess, mentor. I don't know what is it, doctoring? I don't know. Counseling.
Yeah,
There
you
you
can
go.
say counseling, you can say treating, yeah, whatever.
I like that. I like doctorate.
I like
That's the word.
doctorate too. Yeah,
what you
doctorate. But counseling, man, just kind of how have you seen, you know, that shift? To kind of what are your suggestions for, like, whether it be parents or even kids that may be watching this kind of at some point?
So it is a pleasure being with you, gentlemen, because y'all are just knocking it out of the park. So Dante, earlier you talked about fear and how kind of pervasive fear is, and you're 1,000,000% correct, because we don't know what's coming next. And before the pandemic hit, I mean, we feared because we didn't know what the police were going to do. We didn't know if we were going to have a house to come home to. We didn't know if we would have money to pay rent, right? And so when you add all that stuff together, and keeping in mind that kids take their cues from the adults that they're around. And if the adults don't know what's going on, that is naturally going to flow to the kid. And then if you pour on more of the police brutality, the murdering, all of the stuff that you just see on social media, whether it's in context or out of context, you still see it. And anytime you start to raise that level of fear for adults, the kids are just going to follow suit. And so one of the best things to do is do your best to make as much structure as possible. And if you don't know something, by all means, tell a kid you don't know it. Kids do not think you're stupid. Every kid that I've ever encountered thinks that every adult is really smart, and we all know that's not the case, right? But yeah, so kids don't think like we think, and so if you tell a kiddo, "Hey, I don't really know the answer to that," they will go, "Okay, that's fine." But the key is you keep consistency, right, as best you can. So even if they're in dire straits, try to keep in contact with kids or the folks that you're working with, like your neighborhood kids, the kids in school. Just be as consistent as you can. If for some reason you have to be inconsistent, meaning you're like, I don't know what's going to happen, tell them that, hey, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen later this week, but I'm going to be here to do the best I can. And so if you tackle their fear, well, first off, tackle your own fear as best as you can. And then with kids, even if you have to fake it till you make it, as long as you do your best to not show all the background noise, kids generally are really resilient and they're going to be fine. Now, the harder part, to your point, is how do we as adults figure out where we're going? Because to Frank's point as well, like, so much is up in the air and we're getting sick and we don't know where money's coming from, and there's inconsistency in stock market and inequity. I mean, yeah, so I don't quite know how we as adults build that same level of structure, but for the kids, I think it's actually really straightforward. You just, I wouldn't say lie, but if you have to lie, like, make it super, super structured, and they'll be fine.
Right up, man. But I'll tell you, man, I love when you just said that about being able to tell kids you don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, that's so. Like I said, the older we have these conversations all the time, but the older I get, the more I realize, man, that nobody has it together and no one really knows what they're doing. Right? I was fooled though. Like, as a kid, and I mean, you look up to people and you see, it's like, oh, they just got life together because they make money, or they can say an eloquent speech, or they dress a certain way. Like, oh, they got it together. And then the more and more I'm going to these rooms, and particularly frontline wise, we get invited to a lot of rooms now, things where people ask our opinion. It's like, man, people really don't know what they're doing out here, and we don't either, right? But the beautiful part is, at least we don't pretend. We trade safe. We trade safe. We don't know what we're doing, but we gonna help whatever way we can help, right? But saying that with the kids, man, it's like when kids are being inquisitive and they ask these questions, it's okay to just, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but maybe we can look it up, or hey, let me teach you how to look up things so you can get answers, or let me look it up with you, or man, now I kind of want to know what this is, but you don't have to put this front on that you know everything and that you got all the answers, because that's stress inducing within itself. that takes a toll on your mental health because you're trying to paint this facade that you got it together and you know it all. So I appreciate you even saying that it's okay to just say I don't know. You know what I mean? Because we don't know everything.
Yeah, especially with this pandemic, like we really don't know what's going to happen. A couple things we do know is if we don't get a hold of the reservoir. So a reservoir is a fancy word for where is the virus living at any given time. And right now it's like living everywhere. And so if we don't get that under control, it's just going to keep mutating, and we're just going to be stuck in this system forever. And to Frank's point, and I literally wrote it down, to me, everything comes back to fairness, right? So before we got in the pandemic, it was already unfair, but there's something about, Donald Trump being president and doing whatever he wants to do. And then it's like incident after incident after incident that just shows that this country isn't fair. And I think that's where a lot of this stuff is, like, at least for me, it's fueling my anger and irritation because, like, they change the rules about Supreme Court justices at the last minute because they just can, right? They try to freeze people in their houses. Why? Because they can. I'm just like, this feels unfair. And to tie the fear to the unfairness, I don't know how to, hey, let's go vote and get Black people in. And then they go, oh, well, we're going to, not give you water and we're going to try to make it harder to vote. Right. So
we'll suppress that right up at you, huh?
Yeah. And so there's this rampant fear that's hard to control. And then there's this rampant unfairness. And all of that is bad for your mental health because, and kids know this. Kids with really strong mental health, they have a sense of fairness. And when that sense of fairness is being supported and followed, those kids tend to do really, really great. For the kids who are constantly feeling like things are unfair, they tend to they act out a lot, scream and yell and throw fits and do all this other kind of stuff. So we're not much different from that. So I'm like, yeah, fairness and fear. And I don't know. We need to tackle those two areas. But I don't know, that's just what came to me from what y'all were saying.
Indeed.
No, that's good. Yeah. So question, Brian. So we kind of went around a little bit, right? And we know, or at least I know, I'm gonna make an I statement, right? So kind of growing up, I'm growing up Black, right? Like mental health and counseling or seeking help for that is not something that we do. And I don't know if a lot of people do it, but definitely not within the community that I grew up in. How do we push back on that stigma? How do we kind of encourage people to go seek counseling for mental health or even just deal with that, right? Because I think they're like, we can talk amongst, Q, Frank, we talk about stuff all the time, but that ain't professional help. Right? Like, what does that look like to provide a source or provide kind of just say, hey man, you may want to go check this out? Like, how do you how do you deal with it? If you do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I see my own therapist because if I don't, I would literally lose my mind. I jokingly, I say this on the podcast because I'm around other Black folks and y'all will get it. So if the FBI hears this tape, I'm not fixing to go and do this, but I'm really surprised that Black folks aren't terrorists. Like, we could burn this whole damn thing to the ground and we know exactly how to do it, but we choose not to. So I give us all lots of credit. So that we're finding ways to channel all of our frustration. And so, so as Black folks and just anybody, when I'm talking about therapy, I always remind you that they're experts. And when you really want something done, you go to the expert. Hey, I can't do my taxes. Like, I've tried and I failed and I ended up paying a whole bunch of money because I messed it up, right? So I go to the tax guy. I don't cut my own hair. I go to my barber and she gives me a haircut, right? Because they're experts in what they do. And so when there are times when you're having these hiccups, when you're mad all the time, or people are distancing themselves from you, or you're getting in trouble at work, well, number one, you may be at a bad workplace, so you may have to quit. But if you start to see those patterns around you, go talk to somebody. And so a pastor is good, but pastors have a different relationship with you as their clergy. And so they can only get you certain places because most therapists are going to tell you what they see in a very non-judgmental way. They're going to show you the hiccups in how you think and what you're doing. but then they don't pass judgment. They just go, oh, well, how's that working for you? And you go, well, it's not working. And they just look at you like, so what are you going to do differently, right? And so if we could get the message out to all people, but especially Black folks, is you pay for the expertise, right? Yes, you can change your oil in your car, but if you're going to do something big, go to an expert or go to somebody who knows that. And I think nowadays, especially with the emphasis on mental health with, Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, people really taking the time to go, you know what, I'm going to take some time for me and I'm not fixing to play y'all's game. I think that's really, really powerful. And I wish more Black dudes would do it. I can't think of any Black dudes that are, coming out and saying, hey, go see your therapist. But yeah, you're a terrible therapist for yourself because it's too hard to see what you're doing wrong or where your hiccups are. And so, I hope that everybody will start to look towards therapy. And that's the other part. You're not going to be in therapy forever because your therapist don't want to see you forever. Your therapist wants to get you into 3 months or 6 months, or they may even work with you for a year. But it's really rare that I have therapy patients for longer than 6 months to a year. Some people just like to go in and talk, and if you want to spend your money that way, then peace and blessings to you. But generally, therapists are very solution focused or end goal oriented. So they want to get you in, get you stable, start your trajectory towards your best life, and then push you out the door so they can get more people in.
All right. So you said a couple of things that stood out to me, Ryan, on so one, pastors. I think that's an excellent point you made. Like, pastors are great at what they do, but they're not therapists, right? I think that's something that a lot of community, like, we got to understand that, like, that's not, they serve a lot of purpose, but that one, I think a lot of people have been hurt and misguided by seeking therapy there, and it's not a knock on pastors, right? It's just, they are there to serve their purpose, but that's just not the role that a lot of times we need them to serve. We need a professional to do that. So I think it's key that you said that.
They're there. We're there to guide you spiritually.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there is different. We talk mental health. We're talking about scientific components. We're talking about techniques. We're talking about people who really have done the studying around. These are the things to be able to get you. Much like Ron just said, kind of like this is it's a goal oriented. There's somewhere we're trying to get you to. And although it is really good to have the outlet to be able to talk to a pastor like y'all talking about, the pastor's whole sole job there is to guide you spiritually, right? In your spiritual walk, in your spiritual life, which helps your mental health tremendously, right? Spirituality does a world of good for that. But there absolutely is a lane for those who are trained to deal with the brain, the real mental makeup, who have studied this specific thing.
No, that's real. Yeah, and I appreciate, and I won't call him out, but Pastor, I don't know, we had a conversation about it. He's like, nah, man, I got my own therapist, so I don't want to, right. I can spiritually, like, let's break it down that, but like, I will go see my own therapist to kind of get that help. So he recommends that for others, right? I think that's key. And then the other thing you said that I like that they're doing it, right? So with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, I think those things are powerful and great, right? But I think for those people who don't have that ability to do that, right? So you're talking someone working a regular 9 to 5, going in and being like, yo, man, I don't feel good in my head, like, I'm just not mentally ready to do this. They might get let go at the end of the day, right? And then they don't have a job, and they could compile upon just kind of everything else. So I see it as good and potentially bad for some folks who are just not in a position to do that, right? So how do we, and that's kind of, for me, the mental health aspect of it is like, it's layers to it. You know what I mean? So for someone to be able to, like, yeah, I'm good. Like, so me being an entrepreneur and being able to kind of have my own business, I can, like, yeah, bet I can take the day off and I ain't got to answer to nobody, right? Like, I'm good. But someone who's working and employed and to kind of living paycheck to paycheck, being able to be, just chunked to this and like, man, today ain't a good day for me, I'm out. Like, they may jeopardize, their whole livelihood.
That's your livelihood, straight up. Yeah.
True. I'm gonna push back on that just a little bit, only because so Dante, I'm like you. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a capitalist. I believe in conscious and compassionate capitalism. But at the end of the day, I think capitalism works better than anything else that we can do, right? And so here's where I think is going. I love that people aren't going back to work. I love it. Love it, love it, love it, because nobody can work for $7 an hour, right? You can't. You can't rent an apartment. You can't do anything at $7 an hour. You can't really even do anything at $15 an hour, but we're going to get there. By people prioritizing their mental health by not going back to work, I think that this is part of a larger movement. And I'm hoping that this kind of unspoken movement will push companies to do things differently. So that's number one. Number two, I think this is a great opportunity for Black entrepreneurs, because especially Black therapists, because there are ways to build infrastructure to get people therapy that is unique and, again, brief and solution oriented. It just takes some time and some capital. Yes, Black folks don't have access to capital because all the white folks have it and they don't want to give it to us. Now, I'm kidding. I'm oversimplifying, obviously. But so those are all problems that we can solve. But the thing is, I see a movement happening where we're going to be pushed into, hopefully, the 4-day work week. I see where people are going to demand higher wages, and they deserve it, because when everybody's quality is going up, then we'll be in a much better position as a society. So even though this is all awful and Black folks are not accessing therapy like they should, I'm hoping that more Black folks go into entrepreneurship, and through that will start their own businesses and get therapists and business coaching and build better networks. And then we all comprehensively demand more. That's what I'm hoping, because you're right. Not everybody is in Naomi Osaka. They can't just walk off or not do press conferences because they would get fired and that's the end of their livelihood. But there's something about this moment feels different, and I don't know what it is, but I'm more excited for us than ever. But
man, I love you saying that, and Frank, I'm gonna let you get in here too. I saw your hand raised, but particularly, and not to go too far off topic, but you brought up the 4-day work week, man. I love that concept of us hopefully getting there, man, because some of the things that we practice right now are so antiquated. It were things that needed to be done at the height of industry, and when we had, it was 5-6 days for production purposes, and like we're in a space now technologically, we're in a space now intellectually, in so many ways, to where we can still glean productivity, we can still do everything we need to do within that 4, and it's going to be more productive when a person is more sane and more rested to be able to do more productivity during those 4 days in which they are given their time. So anyway, I just love when you even said that, because I'm all aboard on that. But Frank, go ahead. I think you was going to get it on. So you muted, bro. Come on in here.
So I was trying to Google something before I talked about it, because I can't remember exactly what it was called.
Yeah.
But well, so first off, I want to say one of the reasons I really love the show Frasier is because when Frasier and his brother Miles were both psychologists, but they both had psychiatry. They went to therapy. They also went to therapy too. So they made sure that it was known that this is a normal thing. Even those that you think are deemed perfect have to go get seen too, or just to get things out, or to talk through, or whatever needs to be done. So I said that because I heard you say that, Dr. Brian, and then Mr. Dante. So, but also,
Dr. Dante.
but also to what Dante was saying too, there's one thing that I learned my manager talked to me about, but basically there's a care act or a family act or something. I can't remember what it's called, but a lot of people have it that working in the corporate world. They just don't, how to properly utilize it. And basically when they feel like they're mentally not stable or overwhelmed or in a place, they have this care act that they can utilize to take time off, or just to use a few days where they're not penalized for it. And I think one of the things is a lot of us don't know that we have that ability to do that, because our mental is very important. And it's important to corporate companies too, because if we're not there mentally, then we're just wasting time when we're sitting there. So I know they have things in place. It's just we don't know about it and we don't utilize it. And that's that's something I know one of my old managers put me onto. So I was able to, when I felt like I was in a place of unfocused, I couldn't be focused, and I was just in a place of depression and anxiety, I immediately called this number, and they allowed me as much time as I needed. And I did have to get it signed off by the doctor and all that other stuff, but the doctor's not going to fight you on it too. If you feel like you're not in a good place mentally, he will provide. Your doctor, your regular everyday doctor, will tell you therapists in your area that falls under your insurance that you can go to get the help that you need. So yeah, I wanted to make that statement based on what was being said. That's it,
man. Love it. So y'all know what it is. Y'all walking with Community Frontline. We here with my brother Dante Williams. We here with my brother Franklin Moss Jr. We got the good doctor on, Dr. Brian Dixon. And so we're just talking about mental health tonight. So Brian has been so gracious to lend us some of his time. We got a few more things we want to get into before we wrap up, but I just wanted to make sure that we went in on that. Dante, I think you had something you about to bring to the table.
Yeah, I did. So I want to know. I want to touch on something that Frank said, right? So he talked about Frasier, and kind of like, and that's a that's a white show, right?
Frasier is hella white.
Like, oh boy,
real, for real.
like,
it's so white, but it's a good show. It's good.
It's a really good show. Not knocking it because of, right, but like, how many Black shows or movies address mental health, or even show a family, a man, a woman going to see a mental health doctor, right? Like even if you talk about like anger management, like there was a movie with, I think, Adam Sandler, and like it was funny,
Jack Nicholson,
but like but they was like he was going to deal with his anger. Like how many TV shows or movies like show like us in that light? Like I was trying to think of one, like I ain't got one.
The only time I can't think of the only time they show it is when we're going to get couples therapy.
Right.
That's the only time they show
marriage or couples, but it's not like mental health.
Not for myself personally.
Right.
And I ain't even seen that much to really use a couple therapy before. Not much. I mean, it probably is, but yeah.
All right. And so like, Doctor, can you speak to kind of just even within your experience, kind of how, like, what's the makeup of like your clients? Is it pretty diverse? I would think it would be, but like even just across industry, like what does that look like?
So it's a super complicated question, but the thing that I'm going to tell everybody is kind of follow the money. So the way that the medical financing system works, it pushes money towards procedures. So like surgery and like stuff, dermatology, anything that you have to do to somebody, it pays those doctors more than it pays the doctors who are just talking. And so that's one hiccup. And once you start to follow the money, you'll see how difficult it is. So if you are a therapist and you take insurance, and this is to Frank's point, so insurance companies are designed to make money. They are not designed to take care of you. They're designed to keep as much of your money as possible. So you pay your premium every month through either a plan with the Affordable Care Act or your plan through work. And then the insurance is going to fight to hold on to that money. And so as a result, they won't contract with a lot of therapists, or if they do write a written contract, those contracts don't pay very much. And so when a therapist sees you, sometimes they, if it's not done right, they would actually lose money. And so taking insurance. And so a lot of therapists don't take insurance at all because they can't make any money to, keep the lights on and that sort of thing. So as a result, a lot of people don't take insurance, which means you just have to have straight up cash to see them. And keeping in mind, the Black folks, we have less cash because of redlining and racism and everything else that's happened to us. They don't tend to then use therapy resources as often. And so in my clinic, in my panel, I probably have maybe 10% Black folks, maybe. And I mean, there's Black folks from everywhere. I have folks who drive over from Dallas. I have folks who are driving like up from Waco to see me. But yeah, it's because I don't take insurance. I don't contract with insurance companies. Now, when I was working at Cook Children's, when I was working at MHMR, I probably would say maybe 20 to 25%. But even then, we weren't, insurance won't pay a psychiatrist like me to actually do therapy. And so when I was seeing my Black families at Cooks and at MHMR and I was doing therapy, I actually wasn't getting paid for it the system itself would take the hit. So MHMR would pay me my salary, or Cooks would pay me my salary, and I would bill, but the insurance wouldn't pay for it. So I was actually losing the system money. And so, yeah, so that's how jacked up it is. And so how do we fix that? Well, I'm working on fixing how we pay for healthcare, because that's the main issue. And then the second issue is, let's get Black people some money so that they can buy their care directly from their therapist. Like, let's do, I love to talk about reparations, because yeah, if everybody had a debit card with $10,000 on it just for mental health every year, shoot, we'd be good to go, right? So that's yeah.
And I think what you're saying is good too. So right, so but I think it's also so like transparency moment, right? So when we ended up getting my daughter some counseling this past year because of everything kind of she was dealing with. But even like the conversations we were having with different counselors was like, y'all don't take insurance? Y'all want us to pay what right now? You know, you know what I mean? Like we were okay doing it, but it still was like, why not? And so we had to go and have conversations with some of our white counterparts that do counseling and kind of know the system. Is like, yeah, that's kind of normal. Okay, cool, we'll pay it, right? But like, I think even that, for someone that may have like the money to afford it, it's still the unknown of like, that's how the system works, right? And I think there's a lot of that at play too, just some of the systematic ways. Again, the knowledge and information of how things work is key too. So I appreciate you saying that, man. And hopefully, like if we can do anything to kind of help that part of the system, I think that, like, again, that just goes a long way.
Yeah,
I think what's super important. Go ahead, Ron, please. No,
well, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, and you're right. We as therapists don't do a good job. Therapists and psychiatrists, we don't do a good job of showing all the behind the scenes stuff, because we're trained not to talk about money. So like, I didn't know how to manage money at all in the business aspect, and then I started doing it. And like in a business, like you have to pay taxes on everything. You pay payroll taxes, and like in order to pay my employees, I have to pay taxes on the money that I pay my employees. And I mean, and at the end of the day, if it costs $50 to keep the doors open, $50 an hour to keep the doors open, and then the insurance will only pay you $47 for that hour visit. Well, that's what happens. And so essentially you're literally losing money. No, I don't want to have to charge people $50 or $55 or $60 to come in and see me. But I also can't work for free, right? So that's, all therapists, we do a bad job of explaining that. And as a result, people get real mad at us, like real mad. And I just remind folks, y'all, I ain't here trying to price gouge y'all. I just, I'm paying my bills, paying my employees. I'm a small business, right? That's all I am. I'm a small business that does psychiatry. And so, but to your point, Dante, we're going to be working on some of that messaging to get that messaging out there so that people are more informed.
Indeed, man. Well, you got the front line, got your back on that, man. Believe us, because that's exactly it, man. We don't want to shoot. We shouldn't have to shoot the messenger about, hey, this is what it's going to cost to do it, right? But because it speaks to such a larger point of just where we are when it comes to healthcare in our country, period, right? Because Dante using that story, and thank him for his transparency. What that means is that glory to God, we're in this space in life now. My brother's in this space in life now, where if my niece needed that, he was able to provide it. But what it also means is that little Dante couldn't have gone and got the help that he's able to provide now for my niece. Little Frank couldn't. Little Q couldn't. We didn't have those resources. If we walk into, if I needed therapy of any kind, and we walked in and got the same speech that Dante got, it would have been an immediate walk out. Because the resources weren't there to be able to do it, ain't nothing to discuss no more, right? And it didn't mean that my need was any less at that point in time. So even when we start talking about culturally about, why we downplay therapy and things like that, the economic aspect of it has a large part to play with it. And then, yes, it's the spiritual aspect. It's the distrust for, medicine in some ways, and distrust for government. And I mean, there's so many things can go into why culturally we've kind of poo-pooed the whole therapy, mental health thing, religion, so many other things. But that economic piece is a strong one because, like I said, my brother can do it now, but we still know so many people that that conversation that's a non-starter. I got to go out the door because I can't even, there's nothing I can do about that at this point. So yeah, man. So the question I want to ask now, and Frank had to make a super quick run, but he's gonna be right back on with us, and we'll ask him when he gets back on too. Is that I want to ask both of you brothers, man, what are some of the things, and this is asking you personally as Dante, as Brian, as Frank when he comes back. What are some of the things that you know that negatively affects your mental health status, you personally? And so, Brian, I'll start with you, man. What are some of the things that you know or you've thought about or you, in your experience, affects Brian's mental health negatively?
Yeah. So, social media. So, it is a tool for good, or it can be a tool for a lot of bad stuff. And so, there are engineers and there are psychologists that work with social media companies, and they purposely design things to catch your attention. Like if you're ever on YouTube and you're scrolling through something and you're like, oh my God, how's the world full of all the videos that I love? Well, it's because there's a computer program for that, right? And so the same thing happens with other types of social media. And so when I feel my mood getting bad, it's almost always because I've let myself fall back into believing what I'm seeing. Because yes, the world is awful. There's a whole bunch of awful stuff going on, but the world also has a whole bunch of great stuff going on. And because the algorithms in social media push you to whatever you're looking at, if you're looking at something bad, they call it doom scrolling, right? You're looking at something bad on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and then you just keep seeing bad, 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 bad. Well, that's part of the algorithm. And so I have to watch myself with that, because otherwise my mood will just go to hell in a handbasket, and I'll just be bitter and ticked off. And so I try to combat that with going to work out and eating right and all that stuff. But I have to watch how much social media I consume, or else it's going to get me in trouble. So that's probably the most negative thing I run across in a day.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. And so the question is, Frank, and you get the answer in a minute. The question is, what are the things that you personally, as Frank Lamosse Jr., what are some of the things you know affect your mental health status negatively? So we'll let Dante answer me, and Frank, you'll jump in. That's you about to speak to what Brian was saying.
I was going to speak to what Brian was saying.
All right, get that in there. Then we'll go to the
No,
right.
okay. It was just real quick. Being a person that be on social media a lot as well, I have noticed, especially from a group of friends, the people that are in a space of loneliness. It's funny how social media has created this algorithm that almost attacks your mental health in a negative way, like you're speaking. So people that are in a loneliness space, they'll constantly see things that are based on couples, like relationships, married couples, perfect couples, all this type of stuff. And it'll come across their explore page, and it'll keep them in a place of loneliness and unhappiness and sadness. Also, people who are in a place of not jealousy, but they're wanting. Like, I really want something. Like, I want a perfect life. I want a perfect this. And all they'll see is perfect houses, or the so-called perfect house, or the so-called perfect car. And then again, right back to the cycle of a perfect family, a perfect couple. And social media has, especially lately during the pandemic, since everybody was on it heavily, they created this algorithm to almost break you down in a point to where it just kept you in wherever your problem zone was. It kept you there. And so I just wanted to speak on that. So.
You absolutely on it, man. You absolutely. Again, the whole thing about who has it together. You're looking on social media. Oh, they got it together. Look at what they doing. Look at their life. Look what they got. And they just sitting there as miserable as you are, but they look good on social media, So no, absolutely. Dante, what affects Dante Williams' mental health status negative?
Yeah, bro. So y'all know me, man. So it's hard. I feel like, right, that it's hard to affect my mental state. So for me, so it's small things, like real small things, like not having the remote where I can find it when I get home to watch TV. like drives me crazy. Like just like, bro, I just need the remote. That's all I need. Like I done did all this stuff all day. Like I done built the building. I done help the community. I can't have the remote when I get to the house. Like I just can't have.
Right.
I just want the remote, kids. Can somebody find the remote? So it's like little stuff like that. Like that just it just does something to my mental, bro. Like, I don't know. So like stuff like that, and then like just kind of on a bigger scale, more kind of realer scale. And I'm not saying that that's not real, right? Because like those are the things
real,
that can drive people kind of just over. But like a sustained time of like, you know, so we talk about it a little bit. Like for me, I grind it out. Like no matter what's going on, like no matter what's happening, like we just gonna go. Like we just figure this mud out, figure out how to push through whatever the issue is, and just not kind of like not deal with it in a real way. Like it happened, you know what I'm saying? You kind of you figure it out, but like a lot of those things happening at one time, right? So like with the pandemic, it was so much stuff that was happening. It took a while for me to kind of get there. Like, so for a lot of people don't know, so I took a break, right? Like a little, could be a long break, but a little break. All right, like I don't take breaks. You know, like like Frank and Quinn, like in test, like I don't take breaks, but like I took a break because it was a long 8 months, right? And then even the last, like just 2021, like 18 months, but like 2021, like every month it was something, right? So it was one thing after another. And so like it was a sustained period of like just stuff happening, whether it be directly to me, to my immediate family, or just to family and friends that I really cared a lot about. Like stuff was just happening, and then seeing like what people was going through. So like that really impacts my mental. So I can deal with a lot, but like just witnessing that and kind of just going through that really kind of took me to like, oh yeah, I need to sit down for a minute, because I begin to like, so like I get angry, Brian, but like I want to go do stuff to the people that are doing stuff to people. Right. And like with the pandemic, you can't do nothing to nobody because it's the virus, and like, well, how do you fight the virus? So yeah.
If I go beat them up, we get COVID.
We'll get COVID, right?
Sure. No, I appreciate that, brother. So yeah, Frank, same question, man. What affects Franklin Moss Jr.? What affects your mental health negatively, man?
So I'm learning, well, something I've already known is sleep, a lack of sleep. So it's interesting how it affects me personally. A lack of sleep makes me tired throughout the day. I'm not as sharp. I'm more unfocused throughout the day, which it brings anxiety apparently from my lack of sleep, because I'll find myself I'll find myself just falling asleep randomly, sitting at my desk. It'll be 5 p.m. It'll be 12 p.m. It'll just be whatever. So this lack of sleep is destroying my mental health, because not only does it affect my health, but it just affects everything I'm trying to do for the day. And but if we're talking outside of that, just having, I don't know, just understanding everything around me, everything that I deal with on an everyday basis. And so from being a father to 2 boys who are preparing for school, who are growing up, who are in their own space mentally because of the pandemic, and because they're not able to be around all their friends on a regular basis like they used to be. And then being just being a good husband, being everything, just trying to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, doing it the right way, being a provider. And those are the things that affect my mental health. Just trying to make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do and be understanding while I'm doing it to the people that I'm dealing with. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Okay, because working with community frontline, I have duties that y'all know about that I'm hoping that I'm doing correctly. Relationships that I have, hoping that I feed them correctly. I don't know. It's all about, I don't know.
So
Not,
yeah,
And
you
that's
said
a
something.
and
You
that's a
said something
good
good
answer.
though,
I don't
bro.
know.
Right. Now you said something powerful, bro. Like, and so how I took it was like, what's enough? You know what I'm saying? Like in any relationship, right? Any relationship, any job, when you've done so much and you like, man, I did this, man, I killed that, and but like the people you serve in a relationship, yeah, they come back and be like, well, you didn't do this, so like mentally, like for me, like that just takes me to where like, so out of all these things, here are 20 things I did and helped or did excellent, did with, just so well, and was everything that you asked for, but like the one thing that slipped or didn't get done just kind of kills all of that. Like mentally, like that just does something.
it does. The problem is the way that I'm handling it, and it might not be the healthiest way. I'm not handling it. I'm just like, okay, bet. Well, what you need? Well, that's what you need. Well, let's get to that. Let's handle that.
Yeah.
And that goes across the board from clients to the house.
Yeah.
And
Well,
even
so
to my go ahead.
Well, so it's really interesting. So over this last year, I got introduced to Dr. Nikki Coleman. So she's a DEI expert and she's a counseling psychologist. And we were on this podcast called The Break Room. And she introduced me to this concept called John Henryism. And I had never heard of this concept until I was working with her and we were doing this podcast. But story of John Henry, big black guy, and he raced the locomotive and he was banging in the spikes, and then he got to the end and everybody was like, oh my God, he's so great. And he kills over dead. And the idea is that if you're not careful, there are certain kind of expectations, most of them from kind of popular opinion or from our white counterparts who have defined what is, right? And so if you're not careful, you will literally work yourself into the ground for an expectation that is not your expectation. And so, yeah, and I struggle with that too, Frank. Like, I mean, I'm doing the most. I'm working at the medical school. I'm doing stuff. And then Dante, to your point, people go, well, you didn't come to this meeting. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Right. And then I have to take a step back to go, wait a minute. Who am I appeasing? Right. I need to appease me, and me is important. And so, yeah, it may mean that I miss a meeting and I may not go up for tenure and I may get fired, but I don't care, because I have to take care of me. So yeah, I feel y'all. It's life is a lot.
But it's so one of the things, but like I told you, this year has been about revealing too. So with this mental thing that's been going on and me finding out, oh, I didn't do this correctly. So I'm like, okay, well, let me handle that for you now. I'm also have been creating these safeguards too. These safeguards to say, okay, I'm gonna take care of that for you now. And then I write it down. Make sure that you tell them that this is not going down. Like this, it don't matter. I'm like weddings. Like I used to say, well, I'm gonna have it ready for your wedding. I'm gonna make it happen. Oh, only 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I got you. Even during the pandemic, I'm saying stuff like this. No, now I tell them the time frame is 5 to 6 weeks, and I'm gonna do my best to make sure it's ready for your day. No guarantees, no more, because I can't, because I'm stressing, because I gave you my word. And then if it comes to that time and I can't do nothing about it because the pandemic is the killer.
Right. You know what I'm saying? That reminded me of 5 Heartbeats, bro. You saw the time frame is 5 to 6 weeks. My office hours are from 9 to 5.
But that's key, bro. Like so setting boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then even setting personal expectations. I think that's huge. And I think so Brian, kind of you were talking about a lot of just how just like Black folks are thriving and even just kind of how we kind of excel through so much stuff, right? But I think that's also to what we're talking about, right? Because we feel like if I'm not above or better than anybody, everybody, and that means I got to work harder, be smarter, dress better, you know, so I got to have all this extra stuff and do more, even though, you know, I mean, we can talk about examples of being at a job and being the only Black person at the job, and I'm doing way more than all my white counterparts, but getting way less accolades, way less, you know, but like mentally, I feel like I got to show up better, I got to dress better, I got to have better work boots, I got to, you know, apply myself in so much more and expand so much more energy just to even be a little bit underneath them in the company, right? So I'll never really get beyond, but like I think that's a part of kind of what we're talking about is like that mental health of it is like, yeah, we're gonna grind and kill ourselves until, you know, we get the pat on the back, but we dead at the end once we finally get the pat. You know what I'm saying? Like that John Henry, like that was a real, I like how you kind of phrase that, and I never heard of that before either. But I think that's real. Like that, like we hustle hard, right? Like grind it out. Like when you kind of think of those phrases, bro, it's just like, yeah, go kill it. You know what I'm saying? Go kill it or go kill yourself until you get it. You know what I'm saying? Like
the phrases even sound exhausting. You know what I'm saying? And that was our mottos. We raised each other like,
oh, for
go
sure.
grind, go get it, hustle. Ain't no excuse. Pulling all nighter is what we do. Like
That's
I mean, but
hey.
right.
Wow.
But it leads to exhaustion, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely. But I'll say these. So a couple things, and then we'll get ready to wrap here very shortly. A couple things that affect my mental health negatively is one I kind of mentioned earlier about the, you know, not being with people. You know, definitely people give me energy, particularly being with the people I love, the people that, you know, that are fun for me, that are funny for me, that are intellectual, you know, that I get to thrive off of sharpening iron with one another. Like, you know, when that's taken away, or if I'm not in a space where that can happen, that really affects me mentally. I don't feel like my best self. I kind of get in this loathing space because that energy is not there for me. So, so that's definitely one. But the other one that really affects my mental health, which is crazy because people give me energy and they are such a great source. It's also the drain is people. It is definitely negative people. And that does something for me mentally and spiritually when I'm around negative people. And I'm not talking about a person having a bad day. I've been around Frank, I've been around Dante where they just having a bad day. You know what I mean? Like we can get past that super quick. You know what I mean? We argue or whatever, blah, 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 we good. But I'm talking about folks that just when they enter your space, it's like, I just need to move around. I can't deal with you right. I can't be around you right now because everything is wrong. Everything is negative. Everything is pessimistic. And just that does so that drains me internally when I'm around those type of forces, you know, and me being a believer, you know, I feel like that's where the Bible is talking about not wrestling against flesh and blood, but principalities, things bigger, because it really does seem like it's a spiritual drain to be around someone that's in a bad space, not having a bad day, not going through, but just a negative spirit that you know what I mean? Like just they walk in and everything is like, man, I gotta move around. So, you know, that's just kind of mine. Of course, the flip side to that, and then like I said, we'll get ready to wrap. I also want to hear what affects Franklin Moss Jr., Brian Dixon, Dante Williams. What affects your mental health status positively? What are the things that help your status to rise, to get you where you want to be, to really put you in that good mood or get you in that space where you feel like your mental health really is at a place where you want it to be? So Frank, start with you, man. What affects your mental health positively?
So one thing I forgot about, but I've been back in the movement of it, was going to the gym. Going to the gym, I'm 4 months in, and that has just been a lot for me. Not only has it helped me physically, but my blood pressure is better. My mindset is better because I get a chance to zone and I get to push myself. So just being there and feeling good and seeing results, that has really just been helping me mentally. But seeing results in regards to just feeling better and not having to worry about my blood pressure or making, I know this sounds bad, but I don't take my blood pressure pills every day. But the doctor told me I was going to get off of them. He said, you'll be able to get off of it. Well, I feel like I'm moving toward that direction. And so that type of stuff really helps me, just because I know that I'm taking care of myself. And so that just shows, and I feel like it's reflecting not only in my everyday work, but also my business. And then another thing that really helps me is providing, like doing my job, right? When I feel like I actually accomplish things and I'm productive at my job, and like this year has been a great year with Franklin and Anthony, and those things have really been helping me mentally. It's helped me with my confidence. It's helped me have a better understanding of my purpose and what I'm doing, and just actually doing things in all the organizations that I'm part of, Community Frontline. And I don't know if I'm part of anything else, might not be, but but whatever I'm a part of, I feel like I'm actually accomplishing. So just productivity, mentally and physically, has been the real mental health booster for me. So
Love it, man. Love it. Brian, what say you, man? What affects your mental health status positively?
Yeah, so working out is good. I agree with Frank on that. And then, and yeah, there's kind of two other things. So I kind of found my purpose. So being a doctor is great, but when I dove into why I like this profession so much is teaching, and I love to teach. And so I'm now switching my schedule and my priorities, and I'm pivoting and I'm focusing a lot more just on education, like general education, education about mental health. That's my passion. And so I'm taking that into different spaces with entrepreneurship, with medical students, with community folks. Yeah, it's that has helped a tremendous amount, because working, 9 to 5, 5 days a week it will kill me. And so that has helped. And then this other thing, so this book is called The Little Red Book of Selling, and anybody that's an entrepreneur or anybody that's in business, I highly recommend it. And one of the things he says in this book, number 12.5, is he says, resign your position as general manager of the universe. Right? So it is not your job to fix everything and be everything to everybody. And when I read that, I was like, what? And so, yeah. So now when people come to
You're
me,
gonna make
like,
Dante have a breakdown, though.
Yeah.
Did not hear those words.
that's a message, though. That's a real message.
And so, yeah, so when people bring stuff to me and they're like, hey, I need you to step outside of your process or flow, I tell them, I don't do that. Here, you can go see so-and-so or such and such is doing blah, 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 but I can't do that for you. I can't be everything for you. I cannot be the general manager of the universe. And that has helped a tremendous amount.
Whoa, hey man, that's a word for real, dude. That's a word for real. Dante, what say you, man? What affects you positively, your mental health status?
Yeah, can we talk about something negative that Brian just said that affected my mental health?
Right?
No, man, no, that's good, bro. And then Frank got out. It got everybody in the background. That's crazy.
What up, mama? What up, Shantae? Y'all on camera, don't you know it?
Don't even know it. But no, man, so positively, bro, like, so kind of what you were saying, like my people, like just being around and kind of being in the space, with the fam, you know what I'm saying? Like that just does me really, really good, you know what I'm saying? And we ain't got to be doing nothing, ain't got to be talking about nothing, just kind of just being in that space, just with the fam, man. And then and then specifically, so you got kind of us, kind of I found, and then like my kids, like honestly, man, like ain't really a whole lot they can do that's gonna not elevate my mental. You know what I'm saying? Like kids are crazy, but I get crazy with them. You know what I'm saying? And I love being able to kind of be like, just to be back in that space to where I don't have to be serious, or I don't have to be about a business. Like we can just be goofy. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, like that's huge, because I don't have, video games used to be huge for me, and I don't have that space to kind of release. So I get to do that with them all the time. You know what I'm saying? So like that, for me, that's huge. And then like the third thing is just helping people. You know what I'm saying? Like that really does something for me, just to know that like mentally someone was helped, whether directly, indirectly, whatever, like just seeing people kind of being able to move through something is huge, as the clothes are moving in the background. They try to hide. Good job, Frank. Yeah. So now that's
that-
it for me, bro. Yeah.
No, that's it. Indeed, perfect stuff, man. So, yeah, for me, for me, really quickly, man, it is. I've already alluded to the people part of things. Absolutely, like Dante said, being around, my people, good people with positive energy, definitely does a great deal for me. But also, for me, a really big thing is reveling in others' gifts, right? Some people are so gifted, and being able to see their gifts on display really does something for me. I mean, and I really mean this. I mean, it could be a Basquiat painting. It could be, a perfect verse from Jay-Z. It could be John Coltrane's "A Love Supreme." Seeing Luka Doncic get a triple double, like seeing other people being able to really just marvel at the feat of how talented we are as humanity, what we're able to accomplish in so many ways. Like those things really do a world of good for me. You know what I mean? To really be able to do those things. So, and even in those moments, even though it seemed like it has nothing to do with anything, basketball is just basketball, rap is just this, art is just that. Like these things really do something for my mental health and get me on this little bit of high because it shows what we're capable of. And it shows the gift. I really do feel like God's greatest gift, his greatest creation is humanity. It's people. And I feel like that's what he loves the most. And he loves us the most because of everything he's instilled in us, because we're in his image and because we can do so many magical, wonderful, magnificent things. So seeing people being able to do and build and see their gifts on display really offer hope in a lot of ways for me as well. So as we get ready to wrap up here for the evening, Brian, I want to give you just a little opportunity, man, to be able to. I know you probably have some like tips for us, or just something that you think that people need to know about mental health. What would you have here? I know people are not sitting down for a session with you right now, but if you can just give some snippets or some tidbits or something you want people to know that we should walk away with when it pertains to mental health.
Yeah, so I appreciate y'all even having me on. The first thing that kind of came to mind is everybody has something, right? So everybody has a story, everybody's going through something. So be patient and be kind to yourself. There's a whole movement called self-compassion. So being thoughtful and patient and giving yourself a lot of grace. And that's hard, especially for Black guys, because like you said earlier, we've been grinding forever, and that is like the exact opposite of giving yourself grace. So the one big takeaway: give yourself grace, and then there's a guy, Miguel something, and he talks about the 4 agreements. One is to be impeccable with your word, don't assume, and then there's 2 other ones I can't remember. So I try to live those as best I can. And so I'm going to encourage everybody to do the same. Don't assume that you know what's going on in somebody else's life. If they look like they need help, then help them. And then the last piece is, yes, community is everything. And I love that y'all are called Community Frontline, because we are communal creatures. And we're only going to get out of this and get through this, especially as Black folks. Like, again, white folks, they're wonderful. They can handle their stuff, their own stuff. But for Black folks, we only get through this together. So if you think you can pull this off by yourself, you are wrong. Okay. So join the movement, whatever this movement is called. But let's get through this together. And I appreciate y'all having me on.
Straight up, man. Well, you have been brilliant like we expected. It has been such a rich conversation. We'll go around real quick and kind of get some final words. If you got any, Frank, start with you, man. Any final words before we get ready to wrap up for the evening?
I ain't got nothing. I'm still sitting on the statement that Brian said about you're not the GM of the universe.
Man.
So
he dropped the mic with that one for real.
Yeah, I don't have to fix everything and everybody problems. Okay. So I'm still sitting on that.
It's real.
Dante know why.
Sounds like a message.
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 We can make it a sermon, because you know who is the owner of the universe.
Right.
He died. What a Friday night. Well, let's go. Come on now.
Community
Dante, any final
Frontline
words,
is not
man?
a religious organization. Yeah, man. No, so yeah. So what Brian said, I think for me, and kind of just, what helps me, and a lot of people say, a lot of people know it, right? Is don't get caught up looking at other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got your own life, you got your own things, you got, we all got stuff, right? So don't get caught up in the competition of believing that you have to compete in order to be successful, right? And like there is a place where competition is good and healthy, you know what I'm saying? But when it becomes the end all be all of why you're trying to be whoever or whatever it is you're trying to be, it can be detrimental, you know what I'm saying, to your mental health. And then, yeah, take a break. I'm learning. Take a break. You know what I'm saying? Like that's key. You know what I'm saying? Just being able to and schedule it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, a lot of times my breaks are not scheduled. My breaks are sit down, boy, you done got sick or your body done shut down, or you know what I'm saying? So like take time to schedule time for you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's huge for me. Those are things that I kind of I'm the break part is I'm putting in motion, but the competition, I've always felt like there's no need for me to compete when I'm gonna do me and do it how I do it. And what comes my way regardless, right? So the doors that'll be open, not because I beat you, but because of whatever gifts and talents that I possess and things that I have. So yeah.
Dante, you have a choir back here that's in full agreement of everything you said.
Racket close.
The church back there saying amen.
Amen.
Indeed. Well, you know what? I tell you what, man. And look at Joe trying to get on here. Joe, you don't get to say nothing. You too late. Anyway, as your partner in all these things, man, first and foremost, as your brother, I'm telling you, man, it does a world of good. I know why Mama Shante takes a shot, because it does a world of good to hear you say about taking a break, man, because you have been all things to all people. You've been the one that's carried all of us through all the time, man. So I'm telling you, and for those of us that love you and have you've carried, we love to hear you say in that growth that you can take a break, and we support you in that anytime you need it, man, because that's where our maturity and growth has got to us now, for we understand that grind is gonna kill us, man. Not that we can't do excellence, not that we don't put it in, we put it in, but we get to take it off sometimes. Brian hit it so beautifully with the "you're not CEO of the universe," you know what I mean? So no, really, really dope. Joe Sneed, man, you got like 30 seconds to say something because we getting ready to go. And Brian, like, man, I've been on there an hour and a half. You get 30 seconds.
Hey, Brian, you can go ahead and say it, man. That's that white privilege, huh? Joe get to come on last, get the last word.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, right there. Living color, right there.
Dang, Dante coming in below the belt.
You gotta bring you in. I gotta bring you in right. You know that, man. What's going on, bro?
How's it going?
Sure.
Blessed, man.
Going well, man. So we really are at the wrap stage, but I am glad. Community Frontline's old Joel Sneed has joined us, and he is a counselor himself. So grateful for the work that Joel does within Community Frontline when it comes to mental health and what he's doing in his professional life and mental health. And so as we do get ready to wrap, it's right on time. Divine intervention, you came in now, my man. Really, for real, take 30 seconds to a minute, man, just to, shout out anybody and to just kind of put a bow on what you feel like we need to know as far as when it comes to mental health.
I want to shout out to Brian for taking this tonight and running with it on short notice. This was supposed to be something that I was doing, and I had a mix-up, didn't have it on my calendar, and went on vacation up until today, back at work and seeing clients and jumping on the last 30 seconds, taking advantage of this white privilege. So I want to shout out Brian. I appreciate you for taking this and doing it on short notice and running this thing. Y'all been going for a long time, so it must have been some good stuff. I think really the big thing that I've been trying to focus on for myself and trying to work with on clients lately has been the idea of control and responsibility. recognizing and accepting that the three things that I have control of are my own thoughts, feelings, and actions. And those are the only three things that I'm responsible for. And so whenever I'm able to acknowledge and accept those three things, it really allows me to focus in on what are the things that I can change and control in order to try and contribute to whether it's my household, whether it's my family, whether it's society, whether it's my church, my school, whatever it is. It really frees me up to not feel like I have to carry the burden of all these other things that are out of my control, but I can really focus my mental, emotional, and physical energy on the things that I do have control over.
Straight up, love it, man. No, thank you for coming in and dropping that, seriously. And so, yeah, man, so as we are at the conclusion, here's a couple quick announcements for Community Frontline. This Saturday, we will be having our Community Garden Day. We have a beautiful community garden. Miss Iris is over there in the 6th doing her thing, putting on this beautiful community garden. Community Frontline is helping in every way we can possible to make that garden everything that we know that it's going to be. It is directly across the street from M.I. Logan Elementary School, the Leadership Academy at M.I. Logan, 2313 Dillard Street. We will be there Saturday from 9 to 12. Please come through. You'll see on our social media platforms a flyer, and it'll have a QR code attached. That's where you'll be able to RSVP if you want to come, but it's also where you'll be able to donate to the community garden, because we got so many fly things we want to do, especially this big, beautiful shed that we're going to put out there that's going to house some of the equipment and everything. So if you don't have the time and you like, I simply just want to donate to keep it popping, you'll be able to get that QR code. You'll be able to go and donate that way. But we would love to have your help there, and as we try to do something for the community. As well as 2 weeks from today, we will have another one of these forums, and this one will be about redlining. We don't know the title yet because Frank and Derek are still arguing over it, but once they finish arguing over the title, it will be about redlining. So please feel free to join us and be a part of what we got going on when it comes to our forum on redlining 2 weeks from today. Again, y'all gentlemen are amazing. My brothers, y'all absolutely make me better. This is the energy I need, even if it's virtually, because it really does make me better. Community Frontline, y'all know we always trying to bring you something that you feel like you could actually use. And hopefully tonight we did exactly that. So go in peace and love, and we will see everybody really soon.
Hold on real quick, bro, before you tried to end it. Good job. That was a good ending. I messed it up. I always mess it up. See, I'm back. But I wanted to give Joel a few seconds to kind of talk about the mental health program that if you got time to kind of talk about what we're gonna kick off here in the next few months.
Yeah. So looks like we're shooting for October. Sometime in October, we're gonna have a mental health day or a counseling day. The goal here is just to open up and offer counseling to anybody and everybody that would like to try and experience it. This is going to be a free service that we're offering. We're going to have counselors from all over Fort Worth, maybe even all over DFW, that are going to be donating time to come in and just serve the community in that way. So there'll be more coming on that soon. We're still trying to work out all the details on that, but yeah, that's something to be looking forward to, and hope that anybody that's ever thought about getting some counseling, wants to see what it's all about, get a little bit of experience with it, would show up, come out, and get some experience.
Yes, sir.
Yep, and that'll be open to everybody. So, right, no age, no gender, just whoever wants to come out and see and experience, kind of get, if you feel like you need it, or you just kind of want to come out and be a part of it. Yeah, that's it. So yeah,
we want everybody.
Yep.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Take the V out of it. We want everybody.
Everybody, come on.
All right.
Already.
Now we done for real, y'all. Thank y'all for coming out and being with us tonight. I know people will rewatch this at another time. Hopefully it gives you some levity. Hopefully it gives some real things about mental health. We're going to have our mental health day. Keep it rocking, Frontline. We'll see y'all very soon.